Alrighty. You like it?
Well played. Well played.
Excellent.
That's awesome. Oh, that might be you've knocked me out of top five for sure.
You think so?
Yeah.
We'll have to do a little vote. Maybe we can do that at the potluck. Okay, here we go. All right, today we are doing magic microbiome. So we're going to be talking about the microbiome today. But as always, just want to start by saying thank you to our subscribers. This program would not be possible without you, and you too can become a Backyard Naturalist subscriber. We have seasonal and annual subscriptions available, and your subscription includes weekly lectures, monthly field trip, and a subscriber appreciation party. And speaking of our subscriber appreciation party, that's going to be happening next Saturday, um, November 18th, and we'll be heading to Blue Heron for a little potluck and hike. So I put the link to the sign up in the chat earlier, so make sure you are signing up for a dish to share before next Tuesday. And then we also already talked about this, but we'll be having a special Thanksgiving Backyard Naturalist, an evening with the author of The Comfort of Crows, Margaret Wrinkle, hosted by Boswell Books in partnership with us, the Urban Ecology Center. And Tim put that link in the chat for you to sign up, but that will be Monday, November 20th at 7 p.m. And we will sadly not be having a Backyard Naturalist the following Friday after Thanksgiving, unless you really want to hang out. Another thing that I've been asked to plug is we're going to be having a fundraising event for the Urban Ecology Center at Indeed Brewing on December 5th. A portion of the proceeds from their tap room will be going back to the Urban Ecology Center. So make sure you stop by between 2 and 11 on that Tuesday and grab a beverage. And then we have several eco travel trips coming up. One to Southern California over Leap Day, February 28th to March 5th. We'll be hitting a bunch of spots from Los Angeles up to Santa Barbara, exploring the coast of Southern California. And then in April, they'll be heading back to the Galapagos, and there's still a few spots available on this trip from April 7th to the 19th. So make sure to check out our website for links to sign up. Okay, but getting into microbes and the microbiome, the world is full of microbes. They're on everything and they're found everywhere, even in the most extreme environments. But when we think of microbes, we think of them as gross, dirty, disease-causing agents. There's often a negative connotation with bacteria and microbes in general. But pathogens are included in microbes and obviously make us ill and strike fear into the hearts of many. But in reality, in most cases, the majority of microbes aren't pathogenic. They're actually either neutral to us or even beneficial. And they've been around for a very, very long time, longer than us or any other creatures on Earth. Microbes were some of the first life forms on our planet, having evolved nearly 4 billion years ago and lived without us and other multicellular organisms for billions of more years before more complex life came along. And so we, alongside other living things, have evolved with these microbes. And so they can't all be bad. But microbes come together to form amazing little communities that can do all kinds of unbelievable things, some of which we'll talk about today. And they do so everywhere. One of the most interesting is when they come together to form microbiomes on and inside of us and other creatures. And so microbiomes are made up of archaea, viruses, bacteria, fungi, in various quantities and various species that create unique communities in and on us. And in humans, we harbor between 10 and 100 trillion microbial cells. And various parts of our body have different microbiomes, and they outnumber our own cells by about 10 times. Each of us has a very unique microbiome. They're almost like a fingerprint for each of us. And it's made up of sometimes over 10,000 different microbial species. We'll talk about a few of the places that we have microbiomes on and in our body. The first being our skin. On our skin, our microbiome helps protect against harmful pathogens, so other microbes that are typically disease-causing, by secreting antimicrobial peptides and digesting our fat on the skin to create an acidic environment that is inhospitable to viruses and bacteria. Other microbes produce chemicals that can reduce inflammation, and they keep our skin nice and tight to prevent harmful pathogens from entering, as well as from moisture heading out. Microbes in moist areas, like in our armpits, also contribute to our body odor. Similarly, in our nose, our mouth, our lungs, our ears, our microbiome helps to fend off invaders. And they form barriers and stimulate the secretion of mucus, as well as producing antimicrobial products that help keep us healthy. But the majority of our microbiota is found in our guts, and research is finding that it does quite a lot for us. Nearly 95% of the body's microbiota is found in our gut. And it includes a whole lot of viruses, bacteria, fungi, all kinds of good stuff. And so obviously it's in our gut, so it does help us with digestion, and like with our other microbiota on our skin and in our ears and nose and throat and lungs, help protect against invaders by forming a barrier. But what research is finding is that the composition of our microbiome can influence our neurological functioning, our metabolism, and so much more. And when our microbiome becomes imbalanced, dysbiosis can occur. And so this is can occur in a variety of different ways, one of which, if your microbiome is completely wiped out and has to start from scratch, like when you take antibiotics. But it also can happen when you just have reduced diversity or a decrease in beneficial microbes. And what research suggests is that this dysbiosis, this imbalance, is somehow related to a bunch of different diseases. Disorders and diseases that have shown to correlate with gut dysbiosis include things like allergies, irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, diabetes, both type 1 and type 2, various neurological disorders, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and so much more. This is a non-exhaustive list. But what is super unclear at this point is whether this dysbiosis leads to the disease or disorder you have, or the disease leads to the dysbiosis, or it's just a vicious cycle of both. We can't really tell yet. So there's still a ton of research being done on how our microbiome impacts our bodies. But a lot of it over the past several years has centered on its influence on our brain. And what we know for sure is that, at least in mice, things like anxiety, stress, depression, and social behaviors have been linked to their gut microbiota. So taking mice that are sterile, don't have a microbiota, and implanting a new one into it can cause changes in their mood, their social behavior, and more. And so what they have found in this specific case is taking mice that are more bold and implanting a microbiota from a mouse that tends to be more fearful, produces changes in their social behavior. How much of our own, as humans, our mental health and behavior is linked to our microbiome is still pretty up in the air. But it's thought that the majority of some of our neurotransmitters that are involved in several mental health conditions, including dopamine and serotonin, they think the majority of that is produced by our gut microbiome. It has a clear influence there. But again, super unclear. What we know for sure is that when it comes to digestion, microbes, along with structural differences in our digestive tracts, contribute to the foods we can and prefer to eat. So, for example, even though many herbivores have these complex guts, they still don't produce enough of the enzymes necessary to digest things like plant matter. So instead, their microbiome can help them out. In rabbits and pica, they again also have this complex gut, but they supplement their digestion by eating their own poop. And they get microbial proteins through consumption of their feces. And doing so maximizes the extraction of nutrients, amino acids, and vitamins from the plants that they eat. And in koalas, something similar happens. They eat a diet that is exclusively eucalyptus, and the tannins in eucalyptus leaves make them toxic. So many animals can't digest this. And the truth is, koalas couldn't either if it weren't for their microbiome. Their microbiome helps digest the leaves, and to acquire this microbiome that helps with this digestion, babies are fed mom's poop so they can acquire a microbiome that allows them to digest the eucalyptus. Wood-eating species like termites are also extremely dependent on their microbiome. It helps them to digest cellulose in the wood that they consume. And it's even been documented that some species will die of starvation when their gut microbiome has been wiped out with antibiotics. So in these cases, it's crucial that they have this association with these microbes in order to consume the diet that they do. And in some more extreme cases, microbes can supplement nutrient-poor diets in their hosts. In many sap-sucking insects, like leafhoppers, microbes supplement their diet and allow them to consume exclusively sap. Without microbes, they wouldn't get the necessary nutrients from that diet alone. So microbes help with nutrient provisioning, and it's allowed sap-sucking insects to proliferate into over 85,000 different species that have been extremely successful eating this like very highly sugar-based diet. In some cases, they can keep poison at bay. In the desert wood rat, their microbiome facilitates their ability to eat toxic plants. It breaks down this poison, so it doesn't influence the rat itself. And in some cases, it might even amp up poison. Blowfish and pufferfish contain bacteria that produce tetrodotoxin, which is a very powerful neurotoxin that's found in their liver, skin, and sex organs. But this bacteria produces high levels of the toxin, making them very poisonous to predators. But even so, people find blowfish to be a delicacy and enjoy it still. But even in more extreme cases, microbiota within organisms can provide even their entire nutrient load. Marine sponges and tube worms that are found in the deep sea by hydrothermal vents don't have a digestive system at all. They rely entirely on their microbiome to synthesize and provide them nutrients, and they do this through chemosynthesis. So hydrothermal vents will expel different chemicals that they take in, and the bacteria process and provide nutrients to the worm or sponge. And even beyond digestion and protecting us from other invaders, microbes do a lot for us, even when they don't live in and on us. They ferment, which gives us many of the foods and beverages we love and use to supplement our own microbiomes, including things like soy sauce, cheese, yogurt, kombucha, beer, wine, bread, kefir, the list goes on. They also make a large number of our antibiotics. So before I was talking about our skin and our ear, nose, throat, lungs, making antimicrobial products to protect us. And for many years, we've known that certain molds kill bacteria. So a large number of our antibiotics, including penicillin, amoxicillin, tetracycline, and erythromycin, all come from microbes. They're also involved in treating pollutants and wastewater, so they're very important in that case. And it's even been discovered that they can dissolve plastic, eat plastic, and there's lots of research being done to see how we might be able to amp this up to combat our waste and plastic crises. But bottom line is microbes are everywhere, and we've evolved alongside of them, and they're in large part quite beneficial to us, not as detrimental as many initially think when they think of microbes. And of course, there's still a whole lot to be learned about the amazing world of microbes. But at least for now, you can be comforted by the fact that you're never truly alone. You've got trillions of little friends working together and traveling with you everywhere you go. And so that is the microbiome. Oh.